Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pharmaceutical Soccer. Second time this week. We only do second episodes for big breaking news or celebrations, which we are going to do today. I, of course, am here with Valair, Shabilla, and Clay. Wait, no, hold on. No Everton scarves, no Indiana references. No, Clay's not here. It's Ben Wright. What?
Just Ipswich references, which is probably more insufferable.
I was going to say Louisville, but yeah, Ipswich works too, I guess.
Fellas, look, we obviously did an episode earlier of the week, like earlier in the week, after the Miami match. You know, we figured that there was we probably needed to do an episode, especially with Nashville moving on. I don't know, Valair, just your kind of first thoughts, just about us advancing in this tournament. When we got this draw, I remember how depressed everybody was. A, being on this side of the bracket, and B, having Miami as the match that we do play. So,
yeah,
is that all just rectified now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where I think people will remember this. I think people will remember when Nashville eliminated Messi's Miami, the MLS Cup champions, outside of the Champions Cup, which was their only goal this season was to win the Champions Cup. So, well, not only goal, but their main goal this season was to win the Champions Cup. So for Nashville to go into Miami and be able to finally put the Messi thing behind them, I know they didn't actually beat Miami, but they advanced on top of Miami. And I think that's just a huge deal for this club, for this franchise, and for what they have been building since BJ Callahan took over and this sort of 2.0 project.
And then, Ben, just from your perspective, obviously you've been covering the team for, a long time, even in the USL days. What were the vibes like for you just to be able to see, I don't know, just to see this BJ Callahan project just kind of take shape, and it kind of just came to fruition with this match, even it being a draw?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that I think it came to fruition in this match, because I don't think Nashville played particularly well. I think it was a lot of the same things that we saw in the first leg, with they created chances and couldn't finish them. And honestly, the miss from Mukhtar was so uncharacteristic that when he skied that shot, I kind of thought that was it. I don't think they can win many games going forward in this tournament where they miss chances like that. I don't think they will either, because I think we have a track record of Mukhtar and Surridge scoring those chances, and I think for whatever reason, they just seem like they have issues against Miami. I think what I would say is it shows the depth that they have in attack now, because in the past, if Mukhtar's missing chances, they're screwed. And if Mukhtar and Surridge are missing chances, they're really screwed. And now you have a guy like Christian Espinoza, who has consistently created those chances and scored those chances for 7 years in MLS. And so you have a third guy who can be like, you know what, no one else is doing it, I'm going to do it myself. And that's just, they've never had that before, ever, as a club. Even going back to USL, they had like 2 consistent attackers, and now they have 3 elite attackers and other guys like Alex Muil and Warren Madrigal who can chip in. So this is, I don't think it's the final product under BJ Callahan, because I still think they're kind of ironing out some of the issues, but I think it's by far the deepest team that we've ever seen, and I think that's going to be huge for Nashville as they continue to kind of navigate not just CONCACAF but MLS and play through multiple competitions.
And also, I think the series came down to, and Nashville will be thankful for, one of the best strikers in the continent not being able to finish 2 of the easiest chances he'll ever have, and that's Berterame, who has scored and, in matches at way higher sort of level. He has scored in way more important matches, and just him both in Nashville and Inter Miami having those chances and completely missing them is, I think, something that's going to also benefit Nashville. Not to take anything away, but I think that kind of benefited Nashville as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think you could kind of flip that on Miami and say that they were a little bit fortunate that Hani Mukhtar, who has pretty much been one of the most consistent attackers in MLS. I mean, he pulled that one shot wide in the first leg. Nashville should have probably won that first leg 3-1. And then if he scores that, you're looking at a 2-1 win in the return leg for Nashville. So I think Miami got a bit lucky too, because I think this is 2 off games for Nashville's attack. I think going forward, you'd expect to see more of the Nashville that we're used to. Credit to Nashville. I don't think they played the best game offensively, but I think our whole conversation in the offseason was how much better the attack is going to be, and no one really talked about the defense. And to really shut Miami down over 2 legs, especially after last year's playoffs when they got kind of clapped 4-0 in the final game of that series. This is a much better defensive side from Nashville, as well as a better attacking team. And so I think overall this is just a much better all-around Nashville team.
I think it shows just specifically how the quality has just risen, that we can play not our best game at all. And I think from a mental perspective, even after Hani's chance, I'm like, it is just meant like it. The challenge against Miami is just there mentally. There's no way that we're getting past it. But they ended up, like you said, Ben, having a player like Christian Espinoza, where you don't have to rely specifically on Hani and Sam, really does create a different mindset, a different aspect for this team. And then, we didn't talk a ton about the defense at all at the beginning of the season. It was, we have Oleji. We don't have a ton to worry about. Hopefully, it's okay. And also about Brian Schwacke coming in. It's just like, hey, we have a pretty good goalkeeper that's coming in this instance. Not that these two would be playing like all-stars, into this tournament specifically. But let's kind of talk about just how the game played out. At least the start of the game, kind of how it played off. And then we go into the second. Obviously, the first half, Messi scores the goal in the first half. Not a terrific goal on Messi's side. Nashville did look a little flat, in my opinion. Is that what you guys think as well, kind of coming into that first half?
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead, Ben. I said
I
go
should have
ahead.
directed it to one of you instead of just saying guys. That's me. So I'll go to Ben.
I saw the nod from Valair and thought that was I misread a signal there.
So Ben, did it seem like they were a little flat in the beginning?
Yeah, it really did, and it honestly kind of felt like here we go again. It flashbacks to the playoff series last year. I was at the we did a watch party with 440 Sports up at Yazoo Tap House in Madison, and like a ton of people showed up. Great energy going into the match, and it just, as soon as Messi scored, it just fell flat. And I think everybody was scared, nervous, and they looked flat for a little while after that. Honestly, I think they looked kind of flat until the 60th minute when BJ Callahan took out Dan Lovitz and Warren Madrigal and put in Reed Baker-Whiting and Alex Wheel. And I think that really flipped things. I think for that final 30 minutes, it was pretty much all Nashville. Even after the goal, Miami didn't really create anything, and Nashville had a couple moments where, like, a slightly better pass they could have added. I think those 2 subs changed everything for Nashville. I would say first 2/3 it was all Miami, and then after that it was all Nashville.
And I tweeted this out too, but that was the first time Nashville had gone down all season. They had never conceded a goal and been down. The 2 goals they conceded before that have been when they were well ahead. I think they both came in after being up 2 or 3. So it was something that I really thought they're going to struggle to deal with when conceding that early and conceding for the first time of the season to allow the other team in. And I just wasn't sure how Nashville handled something like that. There were a couple of moments where like somebody like Yazbak was clearly frustrated on camera. We saw Mukhtar looked really frustrated. But, I don't mean that in like their head is not in the game. It just means that they care, right? And you want your players to be a little frustrated. You want these players they're competitors, right? But there is a level you don't want to reach, right? And there's a fine line between, I'm a competitor and I'm going to fight my teammates, right? And Nashville stayed in the right side of that. And I think and that's kind of what ended up making the big push into the second half. And then honestly, it was BJ Callahan, I think, had a big fingerprint on what happened in the second half, changing the formations ever so slightly, but just making the way that Nashville press a little bit different, going a little bit more flat in the front 3 and then the midfield 3. Not at all times, but most times. And as soon as that second half started, you just saw so many mistakes from Miami at the back. But those mistakes didn't just happen from nothing. They happened from Nashville's press. And if Nashville could have just turned things around once they got the ball, Nashville would have been up 2-3 goals before even that minute came in for the Espinoza goal. And I'm not exaggerating. There were a couple really good chances for Sturridge. He just couldn't get his feet right. And then another thing that BJ did was also put in Reed Baker Whiting and Alex Muriel. And I thought both of them really, really had a huge impact on the game and allowed Nashville to play in a little bit more of a balanced way, because the first half was just like Nashville going through the right, and it worked a couple times, and then once it stopped working, and then that allowed Nashville to go on the left, let alone all the defensive stuff, the coverage stuff, the pressing stuff that they both did really well, but just allowed Nashville to have a little bit of playing on the left, and obviously Muriel comes in with that shot that results in a goal. So you can't really complain about their performance, but I thought BJ Callahan played that really well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, even during that first half, it was one of those things where, like, I'm sitting there, just shoulders like slouched down, just like, oh God, here we go again. And sometimes I feel like we don't give the players credit for being humans, more or less, because mentally, of course, it's going to be there. They're playing Miami in Miami. Here we go again type of situation. And you could even see it, like, to me, Sam Surridge, like, specifically, you could see it in him, just the way that he was playing. It wasn't as clean as he normally is. Not as much confidence, I would say, in Sam Surridge's play as he normally has kind of going forward. How much do you think, those two DPs, I would say Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge specifically going forward, how nervous did that make you going into the second half of, like, seeing them in the first half? Like, it just it didn't feel like it was there. And then going into the second half, what were you nervous at all with those two kind of being off their game?
Yeah, I mean, and also just being in Miami. For whatever reason, it feels like Miami are in their heads a little bit, because I don't think really since the Leagues Cup final, I don't think we've seen typical performances from Surridge and Mukhtar against Miami. Which is especially weird given their form in MLS. I mean, Hani just scored the 94th minute winner on Saturday to give them the win over Columbus, and Surridge is, I think, 1 goal behind the Golden Boot race with 4 so far. So they're clearly playing well. I think there's this narrative going around from one specific person on Twitter that Mukhtar is cooked, and I just think that's a wild take. So the thing I keep going back to is Nashville are creating chances consistently for the two of them. They're getting in good spots, and if we're just talking about, like, what we expect from them going forward, I think it's a blip. I don't think it's a trend that we're going to have to worry about for much longer. But yeah, I don't know what it is with playing this Miami team. I don't think we've seen the best from either of them.
And I do want to take it back just to Espinoza. I know we talked about him a little bit when we first started, and those two, maybe, Nashville have seen that, and they produce way more than they don't produce, right? So, but to have Espinoza, like Ben said, as that third option is really, really good. And I just want to say that he has showed up in big moments already, back to back now, right? And if you think about that Minnesota goal as well, that was huge for him, because he missed that chance in Dallas, and he missed 2 chances in Dallas, and he faced the media and took accountability and responsibility when I asked him about it right away. Nobody told him to do that. That was him coming up and saying, I'm a better player than that. I will prove it. Next game, he scores against Minnesota. After that, he goes in, and yes, it was a 0-0 draw against Miami, but I thought he was really active in that. He comes in off the bench in Columbus, provides that huge moment to give Nashville 3 points away on the road. We've talked about how much Nashville struggled on the road. And then comes in with this huge, huge moment here against Miami. And I just think that whatever the investment is for a player like that, first of all, to not pay a transfer fee for him is huge. So that's great from the front office perspective. For BJ Callahan to stick with him regardless of his 2 misses in Dallas and saying, you're still the guy here. And for Espinoza himself to come out and say, I did something wrong, I'm going to correct it, and then go on to correct it and provide 2 big moments like that, I just think that's a testament to that sort of just experience that Nashville got with Espinosa. That it's not just quality, it's also taking accountability and responsibility. And it's just a big step. But Steven, I want to throw it back to you before we finish on the game. How did those last 10 minutes feel after the goal? Because I know you told me that you weren't necessarily sober at that time.
I was not. No, that is correct.
So how did that feel as a fan watching that? I can't even imagine. So how was it?
I mean, don't get me wrong. It is the Gary Smith trauma of, hey, we're up 1-0 in the 70th minute. We're going to sit now back, like completely sit back, and you have to sit there for 20 minutes, which, by the way, that last 10 minutes felt like 2 hours. Just sitting there like, oh my God, please count down. Like, and, hearing... just waiting to see how much extra time is coming on the clock as well, because there wasn't a ton of breaks. I still thought 4 minutes was almost too long in a lot of instances where I'm like, oh, what is happening? I cannot wait another time. It's also just sitting there for a draw too. It's like we're sitting there celebrating. We didn't necessarily beat Miami. We advanced because we drew. And I have to assume that CONCACAF is probably going to what is the percentage that you think CONCACAF gets rid of the away goal rule now after this tournament because of this year? What do you think the percentage is? I'm at 100% personally.
I'm at like 60. Yeah.
I think either way, Miami is going to be a special invitee to the next Club World Cup.
Oh, I thought you said Copa Libertadores, and I was like, well,
just the regular World Cup.
Yeah.
But no, I want to just talk about your point on Christian Espinosa as well. One, the narrative of San Jose completely messing that up is going to live the entire season, and I'm extremely happy about it. Two, Espinosa had the ability to go to so many different he had the chance to go to many teams, right? I'm sure there was many suitors that wanted to go after Christian Espinosa, but he absolutely believed in the project that Nashville was putting on. The players that he was around, he didn't need to be the guy, but if he needs to, he can come in and do that. We have now seen what kind of impact he will make on this team, no matter what. And it's been phenomenal to see. And I do think I want to turn it over to Ben because, we kind of talked about, the way it turned with Reed Baker-Whiting kind of coming into the match, Alex Muyl coming into the match. You don't necessarily expect those two to come in and completely turn the tide of the game. Do you think it was more a shift in the way the tactics kind of were, or do you think that it is those two players making an extreme impact?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, Valair already talked a little bit about kind of the change. They changed the shape a little bit. It was more, the same thing that we've seen from Muyl a lot, where he kind of slotted in more centrally. They changed kind of the pressing structure a little bit. But I think also just having more energy, and I think Dan Lovitz, for whatever reason, he just looked a little bit off all night. Getting Baker-Whiting, who is able to just get further forward, get into the attack, has the pace to kind of beat the first defender. He's more of an Andy Nahar type player than Lovitz, where obviously there's not many people who kind of have the ball security that Nahar has, but he's able to, when Lovitz gets the ball, he looks to pass initially. And I think Baker-Whiting is able to bait the defender and get by him, break that initial line of pressure, and then carry the ball forward, which is not something that we see from Lovitz much anymore. And so I think it just opened up a lot of space down the left. And like Valair said, it was very kind of right-sided focused for the first 60 minutes. And I think it just kind of unbalanced Miami because they were shading people over to Nashville's right side really all game, just kind of knowing that that's where everything was coming from. And once Baker-Whiting came on, and Muyl to maybe a lesser extent, or maybe a more or less obvious extent, I think it just made Nashville much more balanced. And you see it in the goal. Baker-Whiting opened up a lot of space, but also, Muyl just finds dangerous spots, and he's not always the cleanest player, but he shows up where he needs to be. He puts in a lot of the dirty work, and I think he makes everybody else better. There's a reason that every coach that he's ever played under for 10 years at this point has put him in the starting lineup, because even though he's not the one who's going to show up on the stat sheet, teams are better when he's on the field, and I think you saw that again last night.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you again so much for joining us, being a part of this with us to kind of talk about this match. Truly appreciate it. Make sure you do check out 615soccer.com. Me and Valair are still going to be here for a little bit because we got some more to talk about because we got Club America, but just wanted to say, Ben, thank you so much for joining and being a part with us.
Thanks, guys. Always happy to chat with you.
Awesome. Bye, Ben. So, Valair, from your side of things, just because match is over, we got past Miami, how does this affect Nashville the rest of the season? Because I do think it's interesting just because we've talked about the congestion of this season for a very, very long time. That, look, Nashville is going to have way more matches to play this season than they have even last year. This adds to that a decent amount, to say the least. What do you think is kind of the narrative for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think for Nashville, it's going to be a welcome challenge. I think they internally always wanted this. I think this actually helps out BJ a little bit because now there are minutes to give players. For somebody like Ruben Pacius, for example, getting the MLS start in Columbus, yes, he didn't get a goal or whatever, but getting the fact that he even got to the start is something that playing behind Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge, and a guy in Warren Madrigal who had an incredible debut, it would be really hard for him to break into that. And Christian Espinosa on the right. So it's like, it would be really hard for him to break into that. But because of the amount of games he's able to play, for a guy like, Matt Corcoran or Eddie Taxeth, right? These are guys fighting for starting positions, and now they both get to start matches because of that. Acosta, all these players who kind of on the outside looking in, when it's just MLS games once a week, it's very hard to break into that. But when you have a midweek game, I think in a way that's beneficial. And the only reason I'm saying it's beneficial is because we talked about Nashville's depth just now, just with Ben a second ago. So it's like Nashville have the players to do that. And I think from a narrative perspective, I think when you talk to most of the MLS gurus or the MLS sickos, whatever you want to call it, most of them had Nashville pretty high up in their rankings. They respected Nashville. They put them as one of the best teams in the league. This does put beating Miami or advancing through against Miami, I think puts Nashville in a whole nother category. Yeah. I think now you've seen a little bit more of the casuals, maybe even folks outside of MLS noticing Nashville, knowing that Nashville have been able to make this. And in a lot of ways, it's not fair, right? Because the process in itself hasn't been different. It's just the results came about. But that's how narratives work, and that they're not necessarily all factual, and they're not all necessarily based on how much effort you put in or what the performance looks like. Narratives are shaped by results for the most part, and these two big results have changed Nashville's narrative a little bit. And then look, a huge game awaits them in the quarterfinal against Club America. If Nashville can go through that will even add more fuel to the fire, and I think Nashville will become, I don't know, the sort of darlings of MLS in a way. And I know that's going to sort of make a lot of people angry maybe, but not really, because Nashville just don't have that like one team that is a true rivalry, right? There's a Cincinnati thing. I know a lot of people hate Cincinnati. I know people hate Atlanta, but let's face it, since Nashville came into the league, there wasn't like a Seattle-Portland sort of situation, right? And I think because of that, what I'm seeing, at least, and maybe I'm wrong in this, is that other fans don't necessarily hate Nashville unless they're obviously playing against Nashville. And I think that helps with the narrative of Nashville within the league as a whole.
Well, I think it's interesting. So I was reading Matt Doyle put out a piece on, what there's 7 days left in the transfer window in MLS. What do teams need? And you scroll down to Nashville, and his response was, Nashville is the best structured team in the league. They don't need anything. And like he said, potentially a young midfielder that can kind of fill in that space where it's just like, okay, we have Brian Corcoran. Like, do we need a young midfielder type of situation? Like
Matt Corcoran.
What? God, I keep on saying Brian. I don't know why.
Brian
does it just look like a Brian? He just looks like a Brian. Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, it is crazy. Like, it's just so it's for me, it's just like, oh, we might actually have something special on our hands with this squad and roster and team. And I think we're going to fly under the radar for a little bit until we have some of these, bigger matches that do come through. Obviously, advancing against Miami is going to put you on, put you up there on the radar a little bit. But it's going to be a fun season. I just keep on getting excited about the rest of the season, just seeing stuff like this happen. And of course, we get to play Club America again because we apparently have no originality in our opponents, and we're only going to play the same opponents. Valair, the last time that we played Club America was in a knockout tournament. How did that go specifically from a Nashville perspective?
That was, to this day, the wildest scenes I have seen in my life. I have lived through wars, actual wars. I am not even exaggerating. What was happening at Jonas Park that day, my jaw I couldn't put it back up. It was down the whole time because I'd never seen anything like this in my life, whether it was on the pitch, the fans running in. And for anybody who forgot or maybe wasn't around in 2023, I don't even know what to tell you to go back and look at. I don't think the highlights will do it justice. I don't think even the only way I can say, if somebody was there and is recapping it for you, that's the only way this will be done justice. So the referee, first of all, last-minute goal from Sam Sturridge on his debut to take the game to penalties. Walker Zimmer scores the first goal, but then Club America come in and score twice, and Sam Sturridge scores that second goal in the 95th minute.
Yep. Takes
Nashville to penalties. Okay, Nashville go to penalties. By the way, this is Jonas Park hosting Club America, and now we're talking about, a fan base that is very much, is the biggest club in the continent. It's huge, huge, huge brand. And there's a lot of people there who are supporting Club America. They do wear yellow, so you can't really tell, but it is what it is. And then the penalties start, and what it looks like, Jack Mayer steps up and misses the penalty. Club America win, but the ref never blows his whistle. But we don't know that. We're in the press box. The fans obviously don't know that, and that the ref never blew his whistle because there's a review. It takes about 25 minutes. Then the ref what happens is that the ref tries to grab everybody and say, we're actually retaking this penalty. And within that 25 minutes, it was absolute mayhem. Fans running into the pitch. There were cups and drinks thrown onto the pitch that I can't even count, in the hundreds probably. There were 11 people who got arrested that night. Just so we're clear.
True.
The players are all fighting each other during this time as well. There were actual fights within the players. Coaching staffs are all up in each other. The referee just, I guess, never blew the whistle, which means the game was never over. They go in, and I'm being short here for time's sake. They go back in. Jack Mayer scores this time, goes in one more time, and then I think Dan Levitt steps up, scores. Club America misses. Dan Levitt scores, and Nashville go to the semifinal of the League's Cup. And it was just, again, more drinks being spilled, more booze. It was just insane. And then the celebration outside the stadium were pretty, Nashville fans were just really hyped up. And I remember Clay saying that he left because he thought the match was over. And then outside of Giotis, he was like, oh, wait, this is still going. So they heard the rest on the radio or something like that. But, yeah, insane scenes. I really hope we don't see the same thing this time around. Whatever the result is, I just hope everybody accepts it and moves on. But that was one of the wildest things I've seen in my life.
Well, and I think it's going to be an interesting match, too, because, playing Miami, of course, is a big thing to have happen. Club America, though, is probably, I don't know, the biggest club specifically on this continent. It's a massive club with a massive fan base. They travel extremely well. They're a really good team. They played Philadelphia in the round of 16, which Philadelphia actually put up kind of a fight in Mexico. So shout out to them, but they couldn't pull it off. We play them in April. And it's looking like, because of the fact that we are the lower seeded team, we are going to be hosting first. Is that correct, Valair?
Yep. So,
okay.
Yeah. So April 7th through 9th is the first game, I believe, is kind of what they're looking. We don't have specific dates yet from CONCACAF.
Gotcha. So those will come through. So please make sure that you are looking out for those. It's so weird that we now have an MLS match on Saturday. Like, it's so weird to think about that. It's just like, oh, let's go back to our regularly scheduled programming where we still have to play an MLS on Saturday at home against Orlando. But we just wanted to put out an episode specifically just to kind of talk about the Miami match. I don't know if we would have done one if we didn't advance, but advancing,
we would not have.
I think advancing, we needed to. So thank you, Ben Wright, for being on. Please make sure you stay a part of 615soccer.com as well. It was so much fun to be able to talk during the match. And of course, at that Yazoo watch party seemed like a really good time. A lot of people there. So thank you so much for everybody that went out to that. Of course, at Pharma Soccer on all of our socials. I don't know, Valair, anything else?
Yeah, I have my player ratings from the Miami game are out, and I have a preview coming out for the Orlando game. There's like a million things happening at 615 Soccer. The Discord is popping. Pharma Soccer, we're out here. We're putting content out, baby. So yeah, just follow along. And if you're not a member, I don't know what you're waiting for at this point. If you're listening to this right now, you're not a member, I don't know what you're waiting for. 5-star reviews are very much appreciated, and it's the easiest way you can help us. So go out there, give us 5-star reviews. Clay will be back on Monday, I'm sure. Steven will be back Monday, I think, and then I will be back Monday. So a different lineup this whole this week, but we're back here. And yeah, well, we're very excited for what's to come for 615 Soccer and obviously for Nashville SC.
Normally we do leave the show with predictions, so I do want to, Valair, just right now, does Nashville advance against Club America?
I was going to say, I gave my Orlando prediction on the last episode, so go back and listen to that if you want Orlando. I'm going to say yes, because it's March 19th right now, and I don't know. I have no details. So I'm going to say yes. Nashville will advance, and I kind of hope it's by away goals as well, because I think that's funny.
It would be really funny if that's just the theme of the tournament where we go through all the way on away goals. I would laugh about it for sure. Of course, I'm saying yes.
By the way,
yes,
there is a chance. Now, none of this is obviously. There's a lot to go. If Nashville advance, the semifinal could be against Cincinnati.
Oh, I know.
There's a chance. There's a chance.
Which is wild to me. Yeah. Like, the fact that it could be against Seattle or Cincinnati. Like, obviously Cincinnati would be massive just from a rivalry perspective. But...
Or Cincinnati come fumble and Tigres goes through. So you never know. We still don't know that yet. They play tonight.
They could fumble the bag. Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll be back Monday to talk even more about probably about Miami and, of course, the Orlando match. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you on Monday. Well, we'll just see you next week. Who knows when you listen to the episode. We'll see you next week.